What's going on, you guys? Slim here with a new video today, and today, you guys, I'm here to go over my brother Jerry's first place SPRIGHT deck profile. One of the first times I was featuring SPRIGHT over here on the channel. You guys already know. And my brother Jerry's been hyping this deck forever. He built it, piloted it, dominated with it, and he decided to put a semi-small twist on it. You guys will see it when we get to the monster lineup. I think it's really interesting that he decided to go this route with the deck. This deck is just insane. This is easily one of the best decks of the format. We've seen Euros, we've seen YCS Rio, we've seen just the absolute insane amount of representation SPRIGHT has had. You know, next to Tier Elements, the two decks are just crazy. Even though both of those events were won by crazy things, Euros being won by Rika Sun Avalon, and then Rio being won by Mystic Mind Burn, there's no denying that SPRIGHT is still probably the best deck, and along with Tier Elements, they are superior decks. They just literally, you know, Mystic Mind is just a hell of a card, and you know, sometimes you just don't draw that out. But I think this deck is just awesome. I really like what SPRIGHT has brought to the table. I think the deck is pretty straightforward. I think that's why a lot of players are migrating towards this deck. Players are trying out Tier Elements, but they know that they do want to wait for the Ishizu stuff to come out, so this is just a great option to start with, especially if you are a fan of playing you know, like the Frog Engine and stuff. You can do a lot of crazy things with that. But we're gonna get into it, so hopefully you guys enjoy. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you're new here, check out all my links down below if you want to support the channel, if you want to follow me on socials. But without further ado, let's hop into it. So he is playing, of course, triple Deep Sea Diva. It's just a main starter. You literally just start this out, your two monsters, you're good to go, your 2 level 2s. That's really the name of the game with this deck. I don't need to really explain that. I know you guys are familiar with SPRIGHT already. So yeah, of course, triple Diva, just a great starter. You got the one Ronatone, and of course that goes with the triple swap frog. He's not playing the dupe frog. A lot of players have just opted to just drop the dupe frog. Main reason is that it makes you susceptible to super poly. So basically all you need to do is have the swap frog, have the one Rodent, and you're good to go. So very, very solid. We got the triple copies of SPRIGHT Blue, obviously your starter, and then he's got the 1 copy of Carrot. That's pretty standard. I think most lists are just only playing 1, and then he is playing the 2, or he's actually playing 3 copies of Jet, just as your extra body. And then this is where it gets interesting. He decided to play not 1, not 2, but he actually is playing 3 copies of SPRIGHT Pixies. I've seen most lists only play 1. I think I've maybe seen 1 or 2 lists that play 2, but I've never actually seen a list that actually fully maxes out on them. And I remember when he sent me this list, I looked over it and I kind of just ignored it. I didn't even notice it at first, and then he brought it to my attention. So the reason he is playing 3 of this, if you guys aren't familiar, it says if you control a level rank 2 or level or rank 2 monster, you're supposed to summon this card from your hand. Standard. You can only summon it 1 time this way, but the main reason is that during damage calculation, if another level or rank 2 link monster you control battles opponent's monster, it's a quick effect. You send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard. That monster gains attack and defense equal to the opponent's monster until the end of the turn, and you can use the effect once per turn. So basically this card is, yes, it is unhonest, and you literally can do it from your hand or from the field. I think that's what's crazy, is that a lot of people forget that you can revive this, and then you can actually use this from the field and just boost your monsters. So I think that's really solid. One of the biggest issues I think with SPRIGHT right now is just the fact that they are little. These monsters have very little attack. Even in the link department, these monsters are just not very strong. Big monsters can kind of overpower them without even having to activate effects, just by brute force. But having this in your arsenal just gives you the ability to just run over monsters that are definitely just, you know, bigger than you, and that's just normal with this deck. That's something that some of the decks of the past have struggled with, and just the fact that it's an honest is really cool. I'm glad that he found success with it. I know it's definitely different. I haven't seen too many lists, like I said, play 3 copies, but it did bring him success, and it's definitely gonna be awesome to see if more players try out multiple copies in the future. So that's the one I gotta say about Pixies. And then of course the 2 copies of Red, the 3 copies of Swap Frog to round out the monsters. To the spells, get the 1 Call by the Grave, obvious. Triple copies of Dark Ruler, no more. It's just like card of the format. Literally, you need it for the mirror match. You need it against this deck. Just in general, you need it against most decks of the format. Just shuts down everything that they've built up, and then you literally just break the board from there. 2 copies of Econ. This card is just really solid. There's a lot of cool tricks you can do with this. We saw this first at Euros, then we saw it as Rio as well, but a lot of players are finding a lot of success with the Econ. Just being able to take your opponent's monsters and stuff is really solid. Being able to dodge hand traps and stuff is cool. So I think this card's really, really cool. To see this card come back into the game, every time this card makes a resurgence into the game, it's definitely interesting to see how far players go with it. So it's awesome to see that. Triple copies of Prosperity, just standard to get to what you need, just for consistency. He's got the 1 copy of Smashers. Some players play this, some players don't. This is just a good Mystic Mind out. Some players choose not to play this. They feel like it's a neg, but I think it's good to just include at least 1 copy. It gives you that out you need against mine and against other random cards. So I like this card in here as well. 1 of is perfect. I would hopefully never see multiple copies. We got the triple copies of SPRIGHT Starter, just the best starter, obviously, and and he did decide to go as far as maining 2 copies of Super Poly. If you guys notice, there's no hand traps in this deck. Most players will admit hand traps really are not that good right now. We have seen some lists that have decided to play hand traps. You can play hand trap Sprite, you can play board breaking Sprite. It's just really what's up to you, and you know, basically based on your area, based on the tournament you're playing in. But he chose to go with Super Poly. This card is just insane. You can't respond to it, and you literally, with Garura, you literally can just make, you can just break almost any board. So this card's really, really solid. You could also use this card for going for game as well. So it's a quick play, so very solid. Opponent can't respond. Triple copies of triple tactics talents. So there are a ton of hand traps. There are a ton of cards when you're going second. So this card's pretty good. I think players are still deciding, you know, is this card really worth having it in the main deck? It's definitely found success so far at the last 2 big tournaments that I mentioned, but time will tell if this card will stay on the format. But I think the card right now is very solid. It just gives you that option to look at your opponent's hand, take away other options, and that's how you just win the game and clean everything up. And then he ends it with triple copies of Imperm as the only hand trap. Again, this is not like a monster hand trap. This just is good going first, going second. It just gives you that versatility, and it plays around talents, as that card has become really popular in the format. But that's it for the main deck. It's 40 cards. Side deck real quick, he's playing 2 copies of Nib. While Nib isn't that great, this format, obviously because of gigantic Sprite, you are still able to catch your opponent. Comboing this with Imperm, you can go Imperm Chain, Imperm, and Nibiru is just insane, so just being able to do that is very solid. 2 copies of Droplets, just for more board breaking to go with the 3 Dark Ruler. 2 Lightning Storms, same thing, also catches the back row decks, because there are a lot of back row decks, and this deck can struggle against that, especially going second, so this gives you just more options just to clear away those problems. Also can bait negates against combo decks. Triple copies of Ultimate Slayer, this card's just insane. Like this card with Dark Ruler, you just have like 6 Dark Rulers plus Droplets. You have a lot of options that you can do, and you can just send you can send Garura to like draw a card. It's just a way to shut off cards in the mirror as well, so this card's very solid. I like that he's playing this. I think this card really has a lot of potential. Not so many decks were playing it, but it does have a lot of potential, and I think it's definitely something we'll see moving forward. And then you got the 3 copies of Porno the Red Lotus. This has become staple in like every Sprite deck. I see this in like every deck, like literally every deck profile. This card is in the side deck. Its card just that good. It's basically Trap Death Shoot. It's honestly just insane, so I really, really love it. It's just one of those cards that just being able to just take away your cards from your opponent is crazy, so you get knowledge of their hand, and knowledge is everything in this game. So very solid card. 2 copies of Evenly and the 1 red reboot to round out cards to hit back row and whatnot. And then lastly, the extra deck, you got Garura and the Mud Dragon. Those are your Super Poly targets. They're the most generic. You can just break boards with them really easy. He plays 1 copy of Dagusto Phoenix. Yeah, this card, I haven't seen this card in forever. I love that he's played this. He talked about a game where he was able to you know, nib and then being able to punch over the thing. It was just crazy. You're literally able to target a card, and it can just literally attack twice. So the card's great. You get the 1 copy of Zeus. You got the 1 copy of Downer to go with the Zeus, the 2 copies of Gigantic Sprite. You've got, of course, the Sky Cavalry. That's how you get into your Zeus. You've got the Toad, of course, because you make it Access Code, Halki Fibrax. We've got the 1 copy of Dark, and we've got the 3 copies of Sprite Elf. Now, the last things he just wanted to mention is that he probably would cut the Halki Fibrax as well as the Access Code Talker, and he would play the Iria, the Water Charmer, which I think is really solid. It definitely comes up in the mirror, and it comes up a lot. So obviously with your water monsters, and he'd also play a Mannequin Cat as well. So those would be the changes if you do guys want to try this deck out. Just make those changes. Cut the Access Code Talker and the Hulk for the Mannequin Cat, and for the Area, the Water Charmer. A few shout outs. He just wants to shout out his boy Table over at the shop. He made fun of him for playing this card and then literally lost to it, so that's pretty crazy. Again, it's honest. It can blow the match out of the water, so card's crazy. And just lastly, the main thing that he was talking about with Dagusto Phoenix is that he nibbed a person, made a Phoenix, attacked Pixies, then swung again for over 10k, so that's pretty crazy. This card's interesting. I haven't seen it in a lot of lists, but I do love the ability to play the rank 2 access. If you ever played Paleozoic, you'll definitely remember like this was a really cool card to be able to play back then. But that's it for the deck, you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section down below. Again, shout out to my brother Jerry for sending me this, and congratulations on getting first place. I love whenever he's able to send me decks. He always plays something usually off the wall, and even though this is a meta deck, he did decide to go with 3 copies of Pixies, and I really like that, and I wonder if it'll start a trend or if it'll be something that we see other players try in the future. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to smash the like button if you did. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.
Thank you all for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and a special thanks to all my patrons. It's because of you, after all these years, I'm still able to make this type of content. Hopefully you guys will check out some of the videos that are suggested here for you, and just remember, you guys, it's not just a game, it's a lifestyle. Thanks for watching.